Hi guys, give me a second. Hey guys, just give me a second. It's been another one of those mornings and I'm not happy about it, but whatever. Um okay guys, just give me a second because I'm going a little a little crazy today. The poll for today is, would you want to visit Antarctica? Sorry, I got disconnected. Okay. So let's do this, I guess. First up, before we get into the meat of today's video, no guarantees. For our weekly recap, because I like you guys to know as much as I do about what's going on in the channel. So here's what's up. We had 3 videos, 2 shorts, and 2 live streams. Carol, they got it right. They actually got it right. Wow, impressed. We had 1.6 thousand people tuned into me this past week. And 5 new subscribers. We can do better than that, guys. The top most watched videos: Organism of the Week, Giant Squid, Whale Tails, and 2 groups of whales. We had 13 likes, 10 shares, and 2 comments last week. Let's play a game. What was the most viewed video last week? 2 groups of whales, Whale Tails, or Organism of the Week, Giant Squid? I'm gonna say Whale Tails. Nope, I was wrong. Giant Squid. Anyway, that was that. Yeah, I'm gonna check the other channel. For those of you who don't know, I also have a wildlife replica world channel that just focuses on basically reviews of animal toys. But let's see how that one did. 1 video and 3 shorts. Now, typically, we would have 1 video and 3 short or 4 shorts. So that's about right. 71 people tuned into me. They watched Relatives of the Frilled Lizard, Frilled Lizards in Captivity, and the Great White Shark toy review. What was the most watched video of the week? Frilled Lizards in Captivity, Relatives of the Frilled Lizard, or Great White Shark toy review? I'm going to go with Great White Shark toy review. Nope. Actually, it was Relatives of the Frilled Lizard. Okay, well, that's cool to know. And now, without any further delay, we are going to get... Oh, no, we're not. So, next, let's do this now so I also don't have to do this later. If I can find it. It was just right here. Also, I keep saying how do I break that? Next, well, Fridays, I just did it again. Fridays live at 6 p.m. is going to be Guess the Ecosystem, where you guys guess the ecosystem of the animal I am showing you, and it has to be right. I did it again. Tuesdays live. I don't know what that's going to look like because I may be babysitting. We will talk about that. I might push it up till 6. But for that one, it's going to be hibernate or not. So you guys get to guess if the animal hibernates or not. And then that Friday, we are going to be doing Christmas traditions. I did it again. So we will be discussing that and having fun with that. So that'll be a big thing that I will be spending probably the rest of the week on, which is why we have games going on for the rest of lives. Also, on the first, the well, it'll be I did it again. It's going to be the 5th of January. I am doing a Q&A. Please, please, please give me questions. You can leave them in the YouTube comments. The comments of this live, the comments of whatever, leave them for me so that I can answer your questions. That would be really cool. So with that, if we can get a lot of people into the lives, once I get something I can actually send to you, yeah, I want to do a prize somehow for that. I will figure that out. Anyway, I think that's everything. Today we're going to be talking about the conditions around Antarctica that forces life to adapt to really harsh conditions. This live will go along the same veins as Friday's live, but we already did that. Antarctica as an ecosystem. Now, this isn't a fair title for this live because it's really going to be talking about the conditions actually on the continent that test life and learning a little bit about some of the animals that live there. And who knows, I might even surprise you or myself. So first, some facts about the continent itself. It is, believe it or not, one of the windiest, driest, and coldest places on Earth. Believe it or not, it gets around 2 inches of precipitation a year. It doesn't get a lot. Temperatures on the continent can vary depending upon where you're at. So, for example, at McCurdy Station, which is the main U.S. research area, which is on the north side of the continent, you may see temperatures as high as 46 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer and see temperatures plummet down to negative 58 degrees Fahrenheit during the winter. Palmer Station, which sits on the Antarctica Peninsula, gets to 36 degrees in the summer and 14 degrees in the winter. Wind speeds at McCurdy Station can reach 13 miles per hour, but don't be fooled because they can also get winds as high as 115 miles an hour. And while Palmer receives an average wind speed of about 11 miles per hour. Let's take a look at the temperatures yesterday. So yesterday at Mondison Scott's, Monday morning, they had a high of -9 and a real feel of -18. And it was cloudy. Wind speeds were 14 miles per hour. The afternoon saw -10 degrees Fahrenheit and maybe that should be minus 19 real feel. Last night they saw -11 degrees Fahrenheit and a real feel temperature of -22 and wind speeds at 12 miles per hour. At McCurdy Station, around 9:02 a.m., they were at 27 degrees with a real feel of 29. Wind speeds are at 6 miles per hour. The afternoon saw 26 degrees and a real feel of 31 with wind gusts at 10. At night, they were looking at 22 degrees with a real feel of 25 and wind gusts of 9 miles per hour. Palmer Station, which is their temperatures are taken at the airport there, they were at 33 degrees with a real feel of 28 degrees and a wind speed of 20 miles per hour, and they could have on and off snow. Temperatures in the afternoon were at 36 degrees with a real feel of 31 degrees. Wind speeds were at 21 miles per hour, and at night they were at a temperature of 35 degrees with a real feel of 26 degrees and wind speeds of 17 miles per hour with snow. Now you might be wondering, what is up with these warm temperatures? Easy to explain. Antarctica is actually in its summer right now. So technically, it's light 24/7. Now, Antarctica's landmass, we are not talking about the ice, just the land, because unlike the North Pole, the South Pole is actually on land. It covers 5.4 million square miles. Now, the ice on Antarctica covers about 98% of the continent. It also holds around 90% of the world's fresh water, all locked up in its ice sheets. So when they talked about global warming and ice melt, imagine 90% of the fresh water being locked up in Antarctica. That gets a little bit dicey. Antarctica is basically a cold desert. Now, a little bit scary. The peninsula that is on Antarctica has had an increase over the last 50 years of around 36 degrees. Now, the life on Antarctica has had to adapt to conditions unlike anything on the Earth. So, Antarctica is home to insects, believe it or not, microscopic organisms, mosses, algae, and it even has flowering plants. Now, they're probably not super big. I don't really know what they are. I just know that they're there. They are other animals that live there include seabirds, penguins, seals, whales that live around it. There is lots of life actually that live under the ice. If you get a chance, there are cameras that you can actually watch, both at the stations and also looking over some of the penguin colonies. The animals, like the whales that come and go, they tend to feed on krill. There are actually 4 different populations of different types of killer whales that live there. They will feed on different foods. Some of them feed on seals, some of them feed on fish, some of them feed on whales. It just depends on the population. Now, the penguins that live on there are penguins that live just on the continent, and there's others that live on the islands that surround Antarctica, and some even live on the ice floes that connect to Antarctica. Antarctica is an amazing place for wildlife. There is wildlife on the continent, there's wildlife in the ocean, there's wildlife on the ice. Antarctica is an amazing place for wildlife, and there is wildlife, like I said. It's just an amazing place. Antarctica even has its own killer whales, as I previously mentioned. There are 27,000 orcas that live in the waters around Antarctica. It is the most common whale in the Antarctica waters. That being said, we are going to look at really quick if you have questions as I'm going through this, please put them in the comment section so that I can answer them for you. So during the 19th century, whalers came into Antarctica and they killed a bunch of animals. But some animals, nowadays, everything that basically lives in Antarctica is protected. So, pretty important to know. There aren't walruses that live in Antarctica. So the animals that live there are basically true seals. Some of the seals that live there, and I sorry if I pronounce this right or wrong, I should say, the Weddell seal. These guys actually live on fish and squid and krill, and they are a deep diver. The southern elephant seals, these guys are some of the biggest seals in the world. They can weigh up to, a male can weigh up to 8,800 pounds, and they can pretty much stay underwater for 2 hours. And the big males, these guys are going to have harems of up to 50 females. And these guys, sadly, up until 1964, they were hunted for their fat. So, pretty scary. But they have returned to their population and they're doing better. Next up, we have the Antarctic seal. These guys are on the small side. Males fight over territory and then mate with females that they don't form a harem. They actually mate with the females that live within their territory. So a little bit different. And these guys are fish eaters. Now, they were also, up through the 19th century, were hunted to almost pretty much to extinction. In the 1930s, they were protected and their population has increased. So pretty cool. Now, leopard seals. This is probably the most famous of the seals that live in Antarctica. These guys can be found sometimes all the way up into Australia, where they actually can be found. Now, leopard seals will eat anything they can get their hands on, from seals to penguins. And yes, they have been known to attack humans, so they are definitely something you don't want to engage in. And they can also actually have different, just like us, they can choose what type of prey they like. Some really prefer seals, others really, really like penguins. Another seal that lives in Antarctica is the crab eater seal. Now, they don't really eat crabs, okay? That's sort of a misname there. They actually feed on krill and only krill. If you don't know what krill Krill is almost a microscopic organism. Almost. I mean, you can see it, but they strain it out of the water, actually a little bit like whales. These guys are pretty timid and nervous. Males and females are basically the same size, by the way, and males do not compete. They don't compete for harems. So there's that. There is also a Ross seal. Now, this is not a very well-known seal. They have small mouths. They're one of the smallest, least known, least common of the Antarctic seals. And they're actually adapted, which is really cool, for hunting in deep, murky waters. These guys are going to be feeding on fish and squid. And this is an example of a seal that lives on the ice. And it's thought that these guys actually mate in the water. The pups, which is pretty cool, the females have already had their pups. So in November is when these guys have their pups. And believe it or not, they are weaned in just 4 weeks. So just 1 month. So by the end of December, or possibly by the end of November, the seals are weaned and they go on their way. So that's pretty cool. But you will see that a lot. Now, probably this seal is going to be preyed upon by killer whales and leopard seals. So those are the seals that live in Antarctica. Remember, if you have questions, put them into the comment section. So, as I mentioned before, there are plants that live in Antarctica. I don't know what pollinates the plants that live there. I don't believe they have bumblebees. So, again, if you have questions about Antarctica, leave them in the comment section so I can answer those for you. So there are actually a lot of birds that live in or around Antarctica. Now, some of these birds may not nest on the actual continent itself, but they visit. So wandering albatross might be one of those birds. It nests not on the continent itself, but on the islands around it. I think rather than doing that, let's do the most common. If you were to visit Antarctica, okay, these are the birds that you're probably going to see the most. Now, the wandering albatross, it does migrate to Antarctica and also sub-Antarctica, so the islands around it, and they do this each year. These guys have an amazing wingspan. If you think about it, I don't have very big arms, but their wingspan is 11 feet. The next up is the Antarctic tern. These guys are going to be feeding on fish and krill. The albatross also feeding on fish. The Antarctic shag basically looks like a cormorant. And there again, these guys are going to be found on the peninsula. So where you'll have land and water on all three sides. And then, yeah, they're also going to be found on the islands that are there. Remember that right now, during our winter, is their summer. So right now, they are having summer. So it is daylight pretty much for quite a few months. The kelp gull may visit and lives in Antarctica. They will actually lay their eggs not on the continent itself, but on the islands that are there. The Antarctic petrel, which is a big bird. Again, it feeds on fish, squid, and krill. These guys probably don't nest on Antarctica itself, but on the islands surrounding. The Cape petrel, these guys breed around Antarctica, and they can be found as far north as the Galapagos Islands during the winter. So they're like, we're cool during the summer, but we want to get out of there come the winter. Something really cool about these guys, and all petrels actually, in order to protect themselves from potential predators, they actually spit out the oils that gather from fish. They will spit their stomach oil, which is heavy in fish, at enemies. The southern giant petrel, these guys, pretty big. They have a wingspan of more than 6 feet. And they do actually breed on the continent. But they can also breed on islands surrounding Antarctica. The snow petrel is another bird that lives on the continent, but it also lives on other islands surrounding it. And if you want to see a really cute animal, sorry, I don't have a picture of it, but look up a snow petrel. They are the cutest birds. Next up, we have the brown skua or the Antarctic skua. These guys have a pretty good range. They do breed in Antarctica, and then they migrate away from Antarctica outside of the breeding season. These birds are super smart, and they can identify a human. They can form bonds with the people that live on the continent. Mostly, you're there temporarily. Scientists and stuff. The southern fulmar, or Antarctic fulmar, does breed on the coast of Antarctica as well as the islands. And again, they migrate away from Antarctica once the winter comes. So those are some common birds that live around Antarctica. But that is not all of the birds that live in Antarctica. What I'm more interested in, there's a lot of birds that will visit Antarctica. They may come down and feed. Not every bird lives in Antarctica. So, probably something really important to know. And again, there are birds that live on the islands surrounding Antarctica. There is a bird called an Arctic prion. Prion. These guys actually they live near Antarctica, not actually on Antarctica, on the islands. So again, those islands are very, very important for the wildlife that live around Antarctica. So you don't just have all of these birds. There's also a pink-faced sheathbill that lives on the continent of Antarctica. There are numerous penguins that live there. And hopefully we get a chance to. I'd love to visit, but I'm a little bit terrified of boats. I don't like the idea of trusting myself to a boat. So now we're going to talk about just the penguins. Now keep in mind that there are multiple penguins. Not all of them live around Antarctica. Not all of them do. So the Adelie penguin, these guys are super cute also. They are going to be not on the continent itself during the winter, but rather on the pack ice. And then in the summer, they go back to the Antarctic coast. These guys mainly feed on krill. And they will actually, males arrive first. They walk to where their colony is, and that can be many miles over sea ice. And a few days after that, the females come. They actually lay their eggs in November, and then in late December, they hatch and the parents take over. By mid-February, they leave the continent and go into the sea. Chin strap penguins. Now, this population is around at least 8 million birds, so pretty cool. They live on ice-free slopes with Adelie and Gentoo penguins mixed in. Again, eggs are laid in November and hatch in early January. Boy, that's a long time. That's almost a month that mothers are sitting on those eggs. Or parents. Now, the emperors, these guys, when I think of Antarctica, this is what I think about. So during late summer, is when these chicks fledge. However, it is during the winter with temperatures that can dip as low as negative 50 degrees Celsius, with winds that can clock in around 200 kilometers per hour. So, yeah, the breeding colonies can be 30 to 75 miles away from the coast. So literally for 9 weeks, the female lays the eggs and passes it to the male. And she has to do this carefully because if she doesn't, if that egg is exposed to the continent itself, it's not good for the chick inside. So they got to be really careful. The male, once the female passes off the egg, she takes off. She's not there. The male will rest the egg on his feet, and then there's a little pouch that the male has of feathers and skin that sits over the eggs. And that egg, because of dad's little pouch, can be 70 degrees Celsius, 70 degrees warmer in Celsius than the outside temperature. So that is another really amazing adaptation. Yeah, so he'll lose a bunch of that. The females come back in August. August is still winter there, so it is dark. It is dark for several months out of the year. They can't really see. Well, I'm sure they can see to some degree, but they have to be able to survive that intense weather, and believe me, it is intense. The Gentoo penguins, these guys are very interesting. They all are, but these guys, Gentoos, very strong pair bonding, and they actually will keep the same partner, I believe, for life. Gentoos nest on beaches or up on hilltops. They will lay 2 eggs, and if it happens that a chick dies, or if both chicks die, they will lay another. They will breed again, actually, or they can breed again. In southern locations, very likely both chicks survive. In the more northerly islands, usually the second chick dies. The king penguins, these guys are the second largest penguins. They nest actually sort of in the subarctic areas, meaning that they don't deal with the temperature extremes of the Antarctic continent. So they're classified as an Antarctic penguin, but they nest away from Antarctica. If you're here, please make sure that you participate in the poll and also give me a thumbs up because that helps more people find me, and it's greatly appreciated. They may spend as long as 10 to 13 months fledging a chick, and they only lay 1 egg, and it is laid in November to April. And also, like the emperor penguin, they incubate the egg on the feet. The parents may actually be incubating an egg and then have a 12-month-old chick beside them. So they imagine you have your baby, it is 6 months old. Instead of maybe being there to help raise that chick, a parent will leave and go on a feeding thing, and then they will come back and feed. But while they're gone, the babies are put into a nursery cared for by other penguins. There's also a macaroni penguin. Now these guys, their population is around 12 million, and they live in the Antarctic region, but they only live on the islands. However, I'm sorry, there is one colony on the Antarctic Peninsula. These guys nest on hillsides and rocky cliffs. 2 babies are laid. But the first one is usually smaller than the second, for whatever reason. The rockhopper penguins. These guys, very distinguished birds. They typically are found on the islands north of Antarctica. They can also be found in Chile and New Zealand. And they actually form burrows near the shore. So those are the penguins that live there. A lot of whales also visit Antarctica. They're going to be feeding on the krill, basically fish maybe. Antarctica is actually a very rich area as far as some wildlife goes, which is, you don't think of it being that way, but it really is. So with that, if you have questions, feel free to ask. That's why I'm here. I would love to answer those for you, if I can. Guys, these lives are for you, so if you want to leave a comment or a question, do so. I enjoy talking with you guys. I probably should do a better job of that. So be sure to look for that. Join me on Fridays, guys. Fridays live again is going to be a game of Guess the Ecosystem. So this week we are talking about cattail. There's already one video on cattails that have been posted. I'm mainly focusing on the broadleaf. Tomorrow's video is going to be the edible and medicinal and other uses of cattail. I am doing a bonus video this week. Believe it's already made up. Be looking for that. That is for the kids, actually. I don't do a lot of videos that are for kids, but that one is for kids. For that video, comments will be turned off. So keep that in mind. So, any questions, comments, things you are dying to know that I didn't cover? I truly do love having an opportunity to talk with you guys about this. It is not every day that I get a chance to do that. So I do really enjoy having that opportunity to sit down and talk with you about stuff. It's cool. I'm going to end the live today. I will shoot. Yeah, I think so. I think it was one of the. I think it was the second one I talked about. Oh, come on. So, yeah. Guys, if you are not participating in live, I don't know what to say because it would help. Carol gets lonely. She needs friends to be in chat with her. So, stick around. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. See you on Friday.